Good afternoon, everyone. How is everyone today? Good. All looking good, all looking smart. Spickety-spit. No, lickety-spit, isn't it? Hello. Good. How's everyone today? We are all back today. Can you hear me? And obviously, more importantly, can you hear...
Can you hear me?
Can you hear Louise? Because if you can't hear us, we've got a problem. But you should be able to hear us all. Give us a thumbs up if you can hear us. That'd be really cool. Here's my dividers there. So you need a pair of dividers.
I'm missing a pair of dividers, just saying.
These are them.
They are them?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'll have
Good.
them back.
Good. Excellent. How's everyone doing? Give us a thumbs up if you can hear us. Yes, Ray's brilliant. Thank you so much indeed. It's warm, isn't it?
It's lovely.
It's really warm today, which is good. Well, as you know, we have literally about an hour ago just got back from Birmingham. We were at the National Association of Jewellers Summit, and we had the weekend. We had Saturday and Sunday up there. Sunday was full of talks, and Sunday we had little master classes, didn't we? That was really good, and we absolutely love that. This morning then we had a bit of a walk to the jewellery quarter, had a walk around there, bought a few bits and pieces, popped to see the boys in Walsh, popped in to see Betts, Metal Sales, had a lovely coffee, real to follow, and then we decided to come home, didn't we?
Well, we had to really, didn't we?
We had to come home, yes, we had to come home. Louise said, wouldn't it be a good idea if we could do the Q&A live from the jewellery quarter? And I thought, yes, that would be a really good idea, but I don't want to hang around until 4 o'clock to do it.
Well, we could have stayed another night then.
But then we've got to come to work tomorrow, unfortunately, haven't we? Work does get in the way, it really does. Really, work gets in the way of pleasure. Yes.
There we are. What can you say?
Well, let's have a quick chat, Louise. How was your weekend? Obviously, I knew because I was there every step of the way, but how was it?
Yeah, I loved it. So, if you've not been to the summit before, the first 2 days is focused on jewellery valuations, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if you're interested in gemology valuations, it's just valuable anyway, isn't it, for anybody in the trade?
Yeah.
And then so that's the Saturday and the Sunday. So the Saturday is all the keynotes.
Yeah.
So everybody's together, and then on the Sunday you can basically pick what workshops you would like to do. You don't always get to do exactly what you want, but you basically rank your workshops in order of preference, so they do try and put you in. But they're all brilliant anyway, aren't they? So, and I think we did end up doing the ones that we wanted to do.
Yes, one of mine was cancelled, but she said she's going to do it via Zoom.
So we've had an extra one, really, haven't we? We've had one for free.
Yeah, ours was cancelled, yes. So
yeah.
We did have another one, and we got another one to come.
Yeah.
It was really good, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it
so
was
we
good.
we saw Kerry Gregory. She took one of our workshops, and she's always amazing, isn't she? So that was great. Yeah.
It was all good.
Had a great time, yeah.
It's busy. We went up on Saturday morning, started at 9, and it's just 9 o'clock. You're in there, you're watching the lectures, you have a break, you have lunch, you have break, and then you stop then. What time is it? 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock? And then you managed to go back to your room for a bit of a freshen up. Then it was down then to the food, then to the barbecue, to a bit of leisurely socialising.
Yeah.
We met 2 lovely people, didn't we?
Yeah.
One guy was from Hatton Garden. He's got a workshop and does mostly work for the public. And we were just chatting with him. His name was Christopher. In fact, his name was Christopher Lee. Amazing bloke, 61 years old, didn't look a day over 40. Blinky. Sorry if he's watching. You're 61, didn't look a day over 40, and he made let you explain. What did he make?
He's made celebrity jewellery, isn't he? I'm not sure if we're allowed to say, actually.
Why not?
I don't know.
Why not?
I don't know. I just don't know if we're allowed to say. But he's made jewellery for celebrities. Absolutely amazing bloke, lovely guy. And we met Anson as well, who is a gemologist.
Yes.
So she's done a BSc in gemology and a master's.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we chatted with them Saturday night. That was amazing.
Yeah. And we did get to bed until about 12:20.
That's the trouble, isn't it? You meet so many interesting people that you just...
And we had one wine too many. We could have done without the last one.
Yeah, but
it's always the one that knocks you over the edge, isn't it?
it was fine.
It's always the last one. But no, but
thing
yeah.
is, it's great. But then it's relatively easy for us. I mean, I've done courses on my own, so I know it's a bit more difficult if you're by yourself to just approach people and talk to them, isn't it? But you know, it's easy. We're a bit of a double act, so it's a bit easier. But if you are going to a conference that we're going to be at, or the jewellery show in September, if you're thinking of going but thinking, well, I don't really know anybody, just come and hang out with us.
Come say hello.
Yeah, because
because
you know us.
We're just nice people.
Well, we try to be, but yeah,
we
it's just...
we have a chat, we have a laugh, we
yeah,
talk.
you don't have to just... Yeah, because everybody is so friendly anyway, but yeah.
That's the nice thing about the jewellery community. Everyone is friendly.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Really is. So that we did that. And then we did all the little workshops. And then we were so tired because after then all the workshops, at what time was it? 5 o'clock? They had a panel and discussing gold and diamonds.
It was the sanctions, the diamond sanctions, wasn't it? And the rising price of gold and the G7 sanctions. So yeah.
That just went, but we had to leave. We were just so your brain is totally fried, isn't it? It is just. We went back to our room. We went for something to eat. We bought a bottle of wine in the Sainsbury's. We went back to our room and just sat on the bed watching absolute rubbish.
But that's so nice sometimes, isn't it? Because sometimes when you go away, you're out all the time, but you never think to just relax in the hotel room, and that's the first time I think we've ever done that.
Yeah.
Where we've just gone, we're just gonna chill out here. Just
enjoy
the room.
Rooms are so expensive.
Yeah.
We should just spend the night in there.
Just watch telly, read, have a chat. It was just really, really nice. And we'd done a workshop in the afternoon with Branko Delianin. I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. But he is a gemologist, a researcher, an absolutely amazing guy. It's Branko Gem on Instagram, and it was all about identifying synthetics versus natural diamonds. Yeah. Synthetic diamonds, lab-grown diamonds versus natural diamonds. So yeah, we'd done 2 hours of that, which was absolutely amazing.
That flew by.
Such an inspiring guy, isn't he? And he just, So yeah, if you get to go on one of his workshops, I think there are some coming up in London. But if you check out Branko Gem, at Branko Gem, and the website, there's so many resources on there.
Branko Gem Academy.
Yes, yeah. So check that out, it's really good.
It is, very good indeed.
And we met Dr. Maria McLennan.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, she's an absolutely fascinating lady. She is a forensic jeweller. So, and I think that's her Instagram handle as well. Let me just double check.
She was amazing.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
Talking all about the forensics and how she gets involved with the police, because she's from Scotland.
Forensic jewellery, sorry, yeah. Dr. Maria McLennan, absolutely fascinating lady, yeah.
Yeah, don't be put off by the tattoos.
Andrew, I love the tattoos, but yeah. Why would anybody be? So yeah, have a look.
Yeah, go and check them all out. And obviously Kerry Gregory and all the other ones.
Kerry's always amazing, isn't she? And so everybody knows that we love Kerry and sing her praises every opportunity. Yeah, so
it's all good, wasn't it?
It was great, really, really great.
We had a really good time. So so we're back. We're going to have a couple of hours, an hour now with the Q&A. Then we're going to have a couple of hours rest, and then back to work tomorrow. It's just non-stop, which is good. I like it. Good. Anything else to report? Oh, nice to see some people, or a lot of people actually, taking us up on the, my whiteboard, I'll go and get it now, take up on the hallmarking offer. 2 weeks ago we had Marie Brennan from the Birmingham Assay office, and within that Q&A, Marie kindly gave us a code, and with that code you get your free registration.
Are we allowed to?
Yes.
Yes.
Come on. Yes.
Are you, okay.
And with that code, you can get free registration to the Birmingham Assay office. So it's ATB 2024. That saves you I think it's £96. Okay, so you put a line through that, and that's free. So your registration at the Birmingham Assay office normally costs you £96. But if you contact them first, quote that code, you will get 96 taken off. The registration will be free. So you only have to pay for your sponsor's mark, whether it be a laser or a punch. I think that costs about £90, but you basically say, or 110, sorry, but you save £96. I know lots of people have taken us up on that offer, Marie up on that offer. We sent out a mail shot last Thursday, I think it was.
Sometime last week,
yes,
towards the end of last
and
week.
That was brilliant. We got loads more people. So if you are on the fence about, shall I get a hallmark? I'm not quite sure whether to get a hallmark or not. I want one in the future, may want one next year, may want one in 6 months' time. Register now, because you will save £96 and effectively you get your hallmark for half price. So this offer is only on until the 28th.
Well, you register, obviously you've got to pay for your hallmark going forward when you want things punched or lasered, yeah.
So it's only available now until Friday, the 28th of June. So please, if you're interested in a hallmark, save yourself £96. We don't get a penny from that, but Marie very kindly came down from the assay office to have a chat, and she offered us that.
You look like you're going to be selling ice creams in that shirt with your pinny on. Your apron, sorry.
It's warm.
Okay, do you want some questions?
Yes, it's Monday, 24th of June, this time for our Q&A. Please, Louise, let's have our first question, my dear.
Okay,
and let's hope it's something about Argentium, because we can do Argentium now.
You're doing all it. Okay. Fiona, I hope you managed to get some lunch. Yes, we are, yeah, we, well, so, yeah, what it was, we were on the 16th floor.
The top floor.
At the top floor of the hotel at the conference, and the lunch was being served on the 4th floor. So, of course, everybody came out of the conference hall and just went to go in the lift. So there was a bit of a bottleneck, and we thought, forget this. We're just going to take the stairs. 12
flights of stairs down.
Got to the 4th floor, went to open the door, locked.
The door was locked.
Oh, my gosh. So, yeah.
So we had to go all the way down to the 1st floor to get out, to catch a lift back up to the 4th floor, and as we came out, everybody had beaten us. Everyone was in front of us because we had to go all the way down. So, but we did get some lunch. But thank you.
Yeah. We were worried, but yeah, it was okay. Thank you. Good. Okay. Where is the gemstone shirt?
Oh, you like that was a cool shirt. That was. I liked that one this year. That was good.
Oh, but loud and clear, but only on the left channel.
Someone said they are left listening and you'll be coming out of both. So I don't know what the problem is there.
Oh, okay.
So with headphones, do you have audio on both sides or only on the left? I think someone said be coming out of both, but quieter on the left, but I've increased the left now.
Okay. Jill's got a hallmark. Yay!
Yeah, well done, Jill.
Fabulous. Awesome.
Fantastic.
Jewellery quarter tour stream would be awesome. Ooh. Did I see something? Oh. Somebody, Kerry is doing tours with somebody. Jewellery quarter tours.
Yeah?
Yes. Let me, when we have a question, I'll see if I can find some more information for you. But they're physical tours. You have to go to Birmingham for the tour.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
I'll have a look for you, but if you're,
okay.
yeah, but obviously
but
it might be a bit far to come.
What we could do, actually, is perhaps one day when we're up there, is do a Q&A from the jewellery court, but just walk around.
Well, that's what I wanted to do today.
I know, but we need to work. We had to come back to work, and I didn't want to spend another day up there. So I thought perhaps what we could do is do a Q&A, but start at the clock. Right, next question. It'd be not related to where we are, but we'll walk around. Perhaps we'll show you the casting company, we'll show you Domino, we'll show you Walsh, we'll show you the Birmingham Jewellery School, we'll show you the clock, we'll show you all those sort of things in between answering the questions. And that would be quite a good idea, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
We'll get a bit of history, we'll get a bit of knowledge behind us.
It's not what I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm. I think it's more no offence to London, you just got literally Hatton Garden and a couple of streets coming off it, but in Birmingham you've got quite a few places that you can actually go and see. There's the Natural Jewellery Museum there, which is an old, I can't remember the company, it's a double-barreled something. They sort of finished at the late 1800s, early 1900s, and they just shut the door and just went away. And they left everything in place. They left like the Marmite jar, they left a cup of coffee on the desk. They just left everything. And it wasn't until years later that the council bought the building, realised what they bought, and everything was still as it was, a big manufacturing jewellery workshop from like the early 1900s, I think it was. They had all the fly presses and they used to make these gorgeous hollow forms. And the council took everything, they catalogued it, put it all back, and they have tours around the jewellery museum. And I think that would be, perhaps we could even do a Q&A or a bit of a tour if they would allow us around the jewellery museum. And it's amazing to see how things have not changed an awful lot. Health and safety has improved, admittedly, but it'd be absolutely really good if we could do something like that as well. So,
on that note, I found the information. So if you're on Facebook, it's on Gemology Rocks' Facebook page. It's an intriguing historical tour of Birmingham's Jewellery Quarter with Ruth Mary Chipperfield, the long-suffering Mr. Andrew Lawrence, that's Kerry's husband, and obviously Kerry and Kevin. For a fascinating foray through Birmingham's brilliant jewellery quarter, wandering through the wonderful city, dive into its dazzling history of producing buckles, pearl buttons and jewellery. And covering the tales of talented people who call this place home. Architecture here is astonishing, showcasing everything from Italianate and Art Deco to modern marvels. Yeah, so it's the 6th of July, 2 p.m, £15 per person. You have to comment on the post, but I'm sure if you go on the website there might be some information there, or if you approach really Gemology Rocks, they can point you in the right direction of the person who can, if you're interested.
When's that?
It is the 6th of July.
That's a good idea.
That's a week. Is it Saturday or a week Saturday? Week Saturday.
28th Friday.
Yeah, sounds cool.
Really good. I like that.
Good.
Excellent. Another question then.
Is that necklace by Emma White? Yes, it is. Well spotted. Yeah, gorgeous. Penny says, it was great to have coffee with you both and Fiona at the Gem Show last year. Yeah, it was lovely. Horatia says, I was at the Metal Clay Conference Centre a few weeks ago in Bradford. Everyone is so lovely. I knew half of them already. Oh, yeah. That's cool.
That's good.
Okay. Isabella registered with the offer last week. Fabulous.
Brilliant, thank you.
Penny says, I wish I'd asked her about jewellery with 9K or 18K stamped on it, assuming they are American marks.
You wouldn't, I don't think you'd have 9K on American. I think America has 8.
I would probably, I don't know.
You're not allowed
The only thing you can safely assume is that it may not be the finesse that it's purporting to be, because it's not a hallmark, it's a stamp.
Yes.
I'm not saying it's not, I'm just saying there's no guarantee that it is. So that's the only thing because we buy in precious metals, and that's an ongoing challenge, I suppose, isn't it? Because, and a lot of the time we just don't buy it because we can't guarantee the purity.
Yeah, the purity, I should say.
So, and you don't want to underpay for it, but then you don't want to overpay for it. So sometimes it's best to just, you can always test it, I suppose, can't you? We do that occasionally.
Yeah. So I wouldn't risk if you're gonna melt something down, or you take anything in, whether it be for repair or for a commission, and something is stamped, no official hallmark, but something is stamped 925 or stamped 9K or 9CT or 18 or whatever it would be. Write that on the packet. Don't take it for granted. That is what it is.
Yeah, don't put 9 carat. You'll just say exactly what it says. 9K. Don't write 9 carat. Don't state that it's 9 carat. Just
stamped.
Just write what you see basically.
Yeah.
Stamped.
Yes.
But then you would have to have a conversation if you're melting it down with your client, saying that it might fail.
Yeah, I see.
I suppose I just probably put it a bit more delicately than that, just because there's no guarantee on the purity. Going forward, there's no guarantee on the hallmark, is there? So
hallmark, exactly. Yes.
And it's easier to have that conversation at the start than it is later on down the line.
And when it fails, then you've got to try and explain.
Yeah, but Marie's great. So if you've got any questions, you can still approach the assay office, and they're all fab, so they'll be able to answer any questions anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, cool.
Maybe.
Janet's registered. Yay, cool.
Janet, thank you.
Julia says, with the hallmarking registration, do you have to buy your punch or laser setup now, or can you do that a bit later? I think you've got to do that now.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if you choose to have a laser mark, it's the cost involved is purely the artwork setup, which means you can have any size laser mark put on your piece of jewellery. If you go for a punch, it has to be a specific size punch, and each punch will cost you £110, if I remember right, plus the VAT. So I would get a laser mark done straight away with your particular outline, or whatever it's going to be, and just go with that. Punches are great, but you've got to plan on that particular punch or buy several. But a laser mark, I think, is the best.
Yeah, for size, definitely.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what Jill has done. I paid £135 for deep laser. Yeah, that's what it is then. Yeah, great. Yeah. Naomi, are you planning on doing an advanced silver course?
Yes, we are, next year.
Okay.
More details, yeah. We are. It will be announced. It will be announced around Christmas time, and it'll be for next year. It'll be a follow-on course from the Silver Diploma Jewellery Fundamentals that we're doing now. More advanced topics, things like fold forming that nobody else teaches you on these courses. We're going to be doing some casting, sand casting, cuttlefish casting, all the usual types of casting techniques. We're going to be showing you how to do that. More advanced, more stone setting as well. Yes.
Okay. Helen says, I've just discovered the dealer's hallmarking page has to be a 4. Your dealer notice, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, good. Is it the Birmingham assay office that we have to contact to get the free registration? Yeah, so the assay offices are all independent of each other, aren't they? They all operate separately, independently.
Yes.
So yeah, it is Birmingham. So if you're with Birmingham, you're with Birmingham, and it's not really a transferable thing, so you'd have to set yourself up with another assay office if that's what you were going to do. Yes. And there's no guarantee that the new assay office will have the stamp. Your what am I saying? Because they're independent, your original punch may not be available, or may not be available in the next assay office that you approach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to go to the assayoffice.co.uk. That's the Birmingham assay office, but it's just the assayoffice.co.uk. Click on Contact Us on the top of the page. Go to the Contact Us form, fill your details in, say you've got the code ATB2024, and they will come back to you with the forms that you need to fill in.
Good. Julie, oh yeah, Julia's just phoned the Birmingham Asset Office. Exciting times, saving £80 plus VAT. It's fabulous.
Yeah,
fab.
Exactly.
Love it. Good. Dances Without VAT says live from the Jeweller's Arms. Fiona, everything seems closed in Birmingham. I'm going next week and can't go to any of the museums.
I know that we passed the Pen Museum. That was closed. We didn't go to the Coffin Museum. There's a museum all about coffins.
Oh, I'm not sure I'd want to see that.
Didn't go to that one. And I think the Jewellery Museum is only open on certain days. So you've got to plan your trip.
Right, okay. Okay, Fiona says, I was melting some 9-carat gold the other day and it stopped as it all appeared to go very black, and panicked as I thought it looked like lead. Hopefully it's all good to go. I did scratch the back and it did come out gold. I also tested them all and they did come out as 9-carat golds. Good.
Yeah, sometimes it could be the flux that you've put with it. The flux will turn black and perhaps cover the surface. You may get some oxides on the surface. So what I do when I do meltdown, you just warm the crucible first, put your scrap into the crucible when it's nice and hot, heat it up. As soon as it starts to melt, sprinkle some borax over the top, because the borax then helps the metal all melt down together. Tap the crucible a few times. Perhaps that will get anything. Perhaps if you've melted some chains down, you've got some little springs caught in the clasps, the little trigger clasps or the bolt rings. Tap the crucible. Those little things still may come to the surface. Swoosh the crucible, swishes the crucible, the metal goes around, it disperses all those little oxides from the surface into the crucible. That's why a crucible always looks disgusting after a few goes. And then just before you pour it, sprinkle that extra little bit of flux upon the surface. The surface then becomes nice and clean, and then you pour it. Once you've poured it, you may get a little bit of oxide then in the ingot mould on the top if you do, and when you take the ingot out, you should notice then that the three sides that have been covered by the ingot mould are really nice and shiny. Pop it in your acid once it's cooled, pick it a little while, and it all should be fine. But yeah, people say, oh, my crucible's gone dirty, it's red in the crucible, what's gone wrong, have I got impurities? No, it's simply the flux that's actually in the crucible that changes the colour, and then it becomes nice and glassy.
Good.
Yes, Lou.
Penny says that sounds like a good idea to have the conversation that it might fail the assay if I melt and incorporate into a new ring. Yeah, because it's a good idea to have a little disclaimer on your packet printed on, because then it's not just something you're mentioning; it's something that's documented that you've explained.
Yes.
And certainly, you're great at explaining things really concisely and succinctly, and I'm not. I bamboozle people, don't I, sometimes, because I'm trying to be helpful and give lots of information, but
yes.
So if it's something like that, I have to really practice giving a
simple,
short answer without making a huge,
version.
great big meal of it, because that's my big problem, isn't it?
Or what you can do is get yourself some pure gold casting grain, and perhaps add another £10 to your melting charge, and just add a little bit of fine gold to what you're melting down to raise that quality a bit if they want it home.
But you can't know that that's going to be enough to tip it into the right...
No, exactly, yeah. And when you melt...
Still need to mention it.
Oh, definitely. And when you're melting down, if you're melting down 22 carat wedding bands, just cut the solder out. Heat up the band until it starts to discolour. The solder lines, if there are any, will show up as a faint line. Cut through it and remove the solder, because the solder will make the rest of the ingot fail the assay if it's 22 carat. And you should do that with 18 carat as well. You can't do it with all the chain links and chain things like that. But 18 carat and 22 carat rings, you should really cut the solder out.
We don't tend to melt down chains, though, do we?
Not an awful lot, no.
For that reason, really, because it could be full of solder.
Yeah, exactly. But what we do, sorry, going back onto that quick question, quick note. If we are melting any chains down for ourselves to do things with, we always save the chains melting down to put in with a cast, as opposed to melting down and put it into an ingot to roll down, because the solder that is within the chains could make the metal not malleable, not be able to be rolled far enough, and it may end up cracking. So if we're doing any melting down of our own for stock sizes, for pieces in rings and that sort of thing, we will always use nice clean pieces of metal with not an awful lot of solder in it, knowing that we can roll that down. Any casting we do, we always save the chains and then add a little bit of pure gold just to raise the quality.
Good.
Yes, Luke, sorry.
Good. Janet says, feeling vexed. If somebody buys in components, assembles, sells, can call themselves jewellery makers. Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose that. I suppose they can. They can't say it's handmade.
No.
This is a really interesting topic, isn't it? Jewellery makers. Met someone today whose partner called themselves a jeweller and has a shop. I suppose, this is a interesting topic, isn't it?
I've wanted to do this podcast for over a year.
Yeah, we have to get and do it, because there's a huge difference between being a retailer, and then even being a jewellery manufacturer or a jeweller. There's lots of subheadings under that, isn't there? Because you can, not many of us I suppose, lots of people in our community make things completely by hand. But then the minute you put a prefabricated lobster catch or something on it, can you still say it's handmade? Can you say it's completely handmade?
This is the thing. What percentage of the piece do you have to have to call it handmade or handcrafted, hand assembled, hand finished?
Yeah.
But the overall thing is handmade.
Because a lot of I know people cast. If it's cast, then is that handmade?
this is the thing again, but
we could talk about it all day, couldn't we? And sometimes we do.
When we say we should be recording this,
yeah.
But yeah, if you carve the wax, you've made the wax, you cast it, but you've actually carved the wax and you've handcrafted the wax. You simply cast it, but you've got your mould that you've made and the master you've made. I would say you've handmade that.
What if somebody else has cast it for you? See, this is, let's talk about this another time but yeah, it's really interesting, Janet, isn't it? Because
a lot of retailers will call themselves jewellers.
Yeah.
But what is the definition of a jeweller? Is it someone who simply sells jewellery?
Let's have a look, shall we?
Or do they have to make the jewellery or create the jewellery or design the jewellery?
A person or company that makes or sells jewels or jewellery.
It could be anybody then. Okay.
Yeah, but it is open to interpretation. I think there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Some people will argue it's people who make jewellery.
You've got a bench jeweller.
Yeah.
You've got a jobbing jeweller. Anyway.
I think you can call yourself what you like as long as you're not misleading anybody. That's my personal...
Yes. My father used to say, you can call me anything you want as long as you don't call me late for tea. Bless him.
Yeah, it's quite a big topic, isn't it?
Yes.
Fiona also managed to get some of the testing kit onto my fingers. Just change the colour on my skin.
It's very nice.
Oh,
very
is that
strong
the
acid.
yeah?
It's very strong.
I always
acid.
wear gloves, thick gloves.
Plastic gloves, the latex gloves.
Yeah. Naomi says, when registering for hallmarking, what would you recommend, laser or a punch? If a laser, would you do it deep or outline? I'm getting a little confused. I went for the laser. I went for the deep relief laser only because the outline, I suppose you could just register the outline, but then if you're putting the outline on the inside of a shank of a ring and then you're polishing it, you could potentially polish it off, couldn't you?
Yeah.
If you're not careful, but if you're going to be careful, then obviously it's a different story. But I went for the laser because you can basically resize it really, really easily.
Yeah.
And I can always have the punch made at a later date if I want to.
Yes.
So that's why I've done that.
Yes, and
because I'm not going to use it just yet anyway.
No, but yeah, you can have a deep relief laser, but it doesn't have to be deep. It can be shallow. When you actually go and have the items hallmarked, it's just the reverse of what a normal simple outline is.
Yeah.
So you can have a nice shallow one pass, or you can have several passes to make it nice and deep.
I think whatever you have, you can always have something else at a later date. If you've registered your sponsor mark and you've got your laser or your punch or whatever it may be, you can always get the other things. I've just registered and got the mark. Yeah.
Go back and get it.
Yeah. Penny says, I can't get on with the chemical tests. I think you need to practice on known material, don't you? That's what I was doing. It was which is easier said than done, isn't it? We buy in a lot of scrap metal, so yeah.
We got plenty to test on.
Louise says, I was lucky my London sponsor mark was available when I registered with BOA. Thank you for the offer. Oh, you're very welcome. Jeanette, when will the Argentium workshop go live?
A couple of weeks, yes.
Yeah.
We're still in the middle of editing that, but what we want to do, when we do announce the workshop, we want to do something a little bit different, and we also want to get a few people on in the chat who are Marky for one, and Peter, who developed the Argentium. We want to get them in the chat at the same time we do the workshop.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
So that would be really good. So they'll be there to answer all the questions, but it's not going to be for a couple of weeks yet. Yes, Lou.
Good. Pauline says the Q&A was really helpful. I've registered and the assay office was so helpful. Oh, fab. Thanks for the Q&A, and I've since found Andrew's video on ATB explaining how to send items off complete form.
Good.
Cool.
That may be, it's not out of date. I think the forms have changed now. When I did that form, the forms were available to you in triplicate, a white copy, a yellow copy and a pink copy. I think times have gone on since I've done that film, and now it's all online and you can print off the forms online. So perhaps we need to revisit that particular film and have something that's a bit more up to date, I think. But
okay.
it is a good one.
Good. Julia says, this might sound ridiculous, but I don't have any borax powder. Can I grate a bit of my borax cone?
You can, even like you have your dish, okay, and perhaps over time your dish gets dirty. Put some water in here before you go home on the weekend. When you come back in, you should be able to flick off little clumps of borax that have sort of built up on your dish. You can use that. You can just sort of
pestle and mortar?
Pestle and mortar if you want to do it, or just smash it.
Obviously not when you can use for food.
No. And you can put that into your melt as well. Yes, you can. Yes.
Good. Janet says, this person came to my shed this morning, bought a pendant and was fascinated by all the tools I had. That's when she told me what her partner does, importing parts from China. Yeah. Well, maybe you've opened up a whole new world and inspired them and showed them things that perhaps a whole new part of making jewellery that they hadn't considered and didn't know. Wouldn't that be great?
Yes.
Yeah. Because there's a difference, isn't there, between assembling things and making things out of nothing.
Yes.
Big difference.
Yes. I'm not going to go into it now.
No. Perhaps we'll do a podcast on it.
I think it'd be good.
Yeah, you're going to get frothy in that one for definite.
Definitely.
Julia says, that's why I say I'm silversmithing, not making jewellery. Yeah, because that encompasses quite a lot more, doesn't it? David says, as a builder, I bought in lots of stuff, roof trusses, kitchen cabinets, etc. I was still a builder and not a put-it-togetherer. Yeah, but good. Then that's your trade, isn't it? That's you're trained. You're a trained professional, so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I call myself a creator, not a jeweler. No jeweler, no designer. Creator, yeah, I like that. Good. David says, is it better to have a maker's mark as well as a sponsor's mark? I think they're one and the same, aren't they? Yeah, they used to be called maker mark, but now it's described as a sponsor mark because I suppose it's the assay office recognising that it could be an organisation or a brand sending an item for hallmarking, not necessarily the person who physically made it. Yep. So it's been changed to sponsor mark.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's right, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right anyway. Yeah. Kevin says, I want to make a piece of investment jewellery. What defines investment jewellery? Is it metal purity or stone grading? How clean it is? Trying to learn. Thank you for all the tips.
I'd say jewellery is not an investment.
I'd
seriously... they were chatting about this at the panel yesterday. They were saying that the value of an item is not necessarily in its components when you buy it. The value of the metal is very small compared to the labour that goes into making that piece. So you should not buy a piece of jewellery as an investment, because as soon as you've 78, 79, for instance.
You shouldn't be mentioning
Don't
people,
mention
Andrew,
78, 79.
No.
They offer jewellery as an investment. But if you look at everything, there is a set amount of money for the metal. There is a set amount of money that gets added to that for the manufacturing, for the advertising, for the premises, for the insurance, for the state, for everything. So what then they say is that they will buy that piece of jewellery from you, but all they'll buy is the gold price from you, and you never get back the money that you've paid towards the manufacturing. And this is what happens with every piece of jewellery that you get. Diamonds this year are down from last year. So if you buy a diamond this year, it's cheaper than what it was last year. If you buy a laboratory grown diamond, you bought that 2 years ago, it's worth a fraction of the price now. Even watches, unless you pick the right watches and you can flip them, they are not investments. Sorry.
No, it is true, isn't it? It's like if I bought this today, I don't know, you made it was a gift, but suppose I paid £1,500 for it and bought it today and took it to you, a second-hand jewellery dealer, scrap dealer, and said, how much would you give me for it? It doesn't matter that it's brand new because I've paid taxes on it and I've paid metal
balance
mining,
the
refining
whole
costs,
thing.
gemstone mining costs, everything. And it is like buying a car. I know it's a crude thing to say because jewellery is, we're all
It's a
emotionally
luxury,
attached
isn't
to
it?
it, and it's a different kind of feeling buying jewellery, isn't it? But it is the same as buying a new car, driving away and losing a lot of money
Yes.
on, not losing,
Because
the pleasure is in,
wearing it.
yeah, I had a lady a few weeks ago and she was selling her jewellery because she was losing her sight. And I think when you're selling it into the second-hand market, the open market value is never the same as the
value
the
is
full
purely
retail
in
value.
in metal.
Yeah, so she said, and she was disappointed, and I offered her a very good price, so she did accept it in the end, and she said, it's really disappointing. And I said, it is really disappointing. I said, go and have a think about it. She said, no, I've made up my mind. She said, I'm just a bit surprised. And I said, most people are. But I said, when you wore it, I said, did you love it? She said, yeah, I really loved it. I said, did it make you feel really good? And she said, yeah, every time I put it on, I felt amazing and I loved it. And I looked at it and she said, I just can't see it anymore. And I said, but that's the investment, how it made you feel, how much you loved it when you wore it and looked at it. And and she,
Yeah, we can talk about this. We chatted to somebody on Friday, and I was saying about going into high brands, big brand places in London, like Cartier or Tiffany or Boucheron, whatever it would be. And even though we know the price of the metal and the price of how much things cost, we would still go into those shops because it's the whole experience and it's the whole pleasure and how good you feel when you put, a gorgeous Fabergé ring on, or you know how much that metal costs, but it's how it makes you feel. And that's exactly what you said to that woman. It's how does she feel great when she wears it? She does. That's all that matters.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I suppose, from my point of view, it doesn't matter if I like it or if I don't like it. And Cartier will always command huge prices. They don't have sales, and the other luxury brands, and that is the market, whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be people who shop there.
Yes.
So,
exactly.
Yeah, it's really interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Where did we get to? Just got a monitor arm stand to turn into a microscope stand.
Good.
Just
cool.
got, cool. Mike, I started working with leather in January. I was wondering how I could incorporate my jewellery making with leather, some saleable items perhaps. Ooh, you made a nice cuff, didn't you? And it was cut out with a leather.
I shall go and get it.
Yeah, you could use the metal as a window and pierce out sections and then have the leather underneath. That looks quite cool. I think that's what you did, wasn't it?
Yes. Yes. So this is what I did. I got like a strip of metal, and I did this sort of open work, like I got there. And on the inside down here, I've got two little, almost like little rivets that I've soldered on. I've got a piece of leather, and I've put a slit at both ends. And I can come along with this and see one side's smooth, one side's slightly textured. And I can put that over the hole there, and I can bring that around on the inside, and I can attach it onto this side as well. It's just come off the other side there.
And I think the bangles that you're wearing today, Andrew, the leather plaited with the silver ends, they're always really good sellers, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And I've got little guides up here, and then we can put that on, and you've got this fabulous style here, and you can then have different coloured leather to go up on the inside. So that's really good. And then, we've also got these sort of things here, which is like a braided leather, a cap on the end. Usually the leather is just cemented into that cap. We've got a little skull. There's a Thomas Sabo one. There's that one there. Or you can even put little
suede
beads.
choker, like a suede choker, black
Yep.
suede with. I've got one with an extender in silver, and obviously that's
always
quite
good.
very 1990s, which is in at the moment.
Yes.
Good.
So there's lots of things that you can incorporate leather. I love it.
Cool. Julia says, is it usual to use your own initials as your maker mark, or if you have a different business name, would you use the initials of your business? Does that make sense? Yeah, you can have both actually. You could have either or.
It makes a difference.
Can you have a brand? Can you have a logo as your sponsor mark?
You can have that added. You can have.
I know you can have both, but can you have the?
I don't know whether you can have that brand
as your
sponsor
mark.
But you can have a little logo design, and then you can then have them apply that in addition to.
Oh, Jill says you can. If you have a logo for your jewellery business, you can use that as your maker mark, your sponsor mark. Yeah, yeah. Oh, cool.
Oh, brilliant idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Ask the assay office because they're so helpful. They'll be able to. Yeah. Would the okay. Penny says yes. If you break down what they have lost, it is in price per wear. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Okay, what is the minimum magnification that a microscope should work for at stone setting? 40 times is expensive, 20 times is less so.
It depends on how close you want to get. We've got a Leica in the front room. I think that's 50 times. Do you want to go 50 times? No. It's just too much. You've got to have the objective lenses in it, because normally when you have a microscope, there's a working distance from the work to the lens, and sometimes that distance is not great at all and you can't get your hands in, or perhaps your flex shaft or your micromotor in on top of the work before you hit the actual microscope. So I know on my Leica that I've got, and also on my MyG downstairs, the microscopes, I think I've got a 0.63 filter on it, so it increases the working distance. So the scope would have to be higher, or the workbench would have to be lower. I've got a setter's bench in the front room, so it goes slightly lower. There's like a tray the work sits in, so that sits lower, so your hands come along and they're parallel to where you're working, and then that gives you the working distance then between the piece and the scope, so you can get your hands in. And I've got another camera onto that and so forth. But whatever magnification you want, it's got to be better than nothing. Even if you just use these little optivisors, even this like double the magnification is better than nothing. Just go for as much as you can afford. It's like everything else. There's not much point going for 40 times and it bankrupts you. Just go for 20 times and you've got some money left then. That's what would be my advice, definitely.
Somebody else is having a problem with the audio, only the left ear is working, so maybe it is.
Okay, we can sort that out. That's just the settings on the
sorry about that.
On the A10, but we can work that out yes.
Okay.
You guys have got to go into the settings right.
Oh, well, that's a job for you, isn't it? Okay. Oh yes. Okay. Right. Sorry, it's only one ear audio.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
You can have a go now if you want to do. Go click on the A10 there. The one. Cool. Bottom left-hand corner, there's a cog.
That one?
No, left-hand corner.
Okay.
There's a cog. Cool. Go on to audio up on the top.
Yeah.
Click mic 1, mic 2 on the right. That's it. Click that one and that one. Any better? Click done. Good.
Is that better?
Is that better?
Are we in both ears now?
We don't know. We'll have to see. Are we in both ears?
Are we in both
I
ears?
have no idea. Anyway, let's carry on.
Lynn says, my friend and I both have both of our initials and were registered at Sheffield. They just had to check the initials were available for the shield shape we wanted. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's lots of different shield shapes.
Shield shape. There is lots of shield shapes, and it depends on how many initials you want to go on there as well.
Yeah.
I think I'll show you mine. I don't like mine. I wish I went for something different.
Well, Andrew, if you want to change it, now's the time.
Now is the time.
Now is the time.
Now is the time to say.
Oh, it's better. Oh, thank you guys. Sorry, I'm sorry it's taken us so long to sort that out.
Better. I changed it because I changed it when I went to do the assay office. I changed it back, but I shouldn't have. So mine is that AVB within this.
Should have listened to Amco in the first place. Sorry, Amco.
and Louise has registered hers, and hers looks like.
It's like a trefoil, isn't it?
It's like a 3-leaf clover, isn't it? Yes.
Is it?
So it's LDB, the London Diamond. No, sorry, it's Louise Deborah Berry, and that's yours, yes, and that's yours. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Love it. So there we go. But yeah, let us know. Let us see your pieces of jewellery that you've had hallmarked as a result of the free offer. We would love to see it.
Show us your hallmark, yeah.
Show us your hallmarks. We'll have a look.
We'll all have a celebrate.
Yes.
Cool.
Excellent. Let's have another question.
I love it. I think that's it for now.
Okay.
David says, well, at one time a maker could be a sponsor, but a sponsor could not be a maker. Oh, that's interesting.
That's an interesting one, isn't it?
That's a maker could be a sponsor, but a sponsor could not be a maker. So does that go back to Janet's thing about are you a jeweler or
maybe,
or a jewellery retailer or somebody who makes jewellery?
Because I
Is
know
that where that's come from. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out.
I know that when I've sent some items to the Birmingham Assay office, my punch was not small enough. 3/4 of a millimetre height. It was not small enough. So they said we will hallmark it, but we got a hallmark it BAO. Which they did. Just saying.
Instead of your sponsor mark?
Yeah, because it couldn't go small enough. So they hallmarked it BAO.
Why couldn't they have made a smaller punch? Because I
wasn't going to pay any more
Oh,
money.
now we're coming down to it. Okay.
They said you don't have a punch smaller. Come on, I got 3/4 of a millimetre. I got like 2.5 millimetre for any flat big pieces. I did some amazing silver letter openers years ago, and again had my spread mark across it with AVB across it, and that looked rather cool. But yeah, sorry, Lou. I digress.
Jolokia. Oh, I need a hallmark. I think we're into the last week.
Yes.
I think the code stops working on Friday.
28th.
Is that Friday?
It is.
Yes. So yeah, it's we're into the last 4 or 5 days.
So contact the Assay office. Go to theassayoffice.co.uk. Click on contact us. Fill in the form, your name, your email address, and the comment. Just say that you've got a code ATB2024 and you wish to register your hallmark. They'll send you the information then via email that you fill in. They waiver the £96, so it's £80 plus the VAT, that's £96. You have the registration for free, but you have to then pay for your mark. But you save nearly 50% off the cost.
So good.
And it's so cheap now to do.
So good.
Yes.
Janet, oh dear, have I opened a can of worms? It's something we talk about a lot, actually, isn't it?
All the time.
Yeah, we've been thinking about doing a podcast on it for a little while because one of my Nudge tutors always talks about the difference between, it's a bit of a bugbear, isn't it, between handmade, hand finished. Yeah. And
if you get other people to do the separate pieces of work for you and you've got your hallmark in it, you've effectively made it, haven't you? According to the hallmark, and you've sold it. Have you made it? No, you've got lots of other people doing it.
But it's a sponsor mark, isn't it? That's the point. It's so it doesn't matter really.
It's a tricky one that I know that I will get very frothy.
It's going to be interesting
to do that, and we should do it because it'll open up a can of worms, and I'm sure there'll be lots of people who will comment on it.
Well, there's I've seen things on Facebook and Instagram, and we buy jewellery from suppliers, don't we, to sell in the shop.
Yep.
You know, we do manufacture a little bit as well, and I've seen other retailers, obviously they get it from the same supplier and they're selling it as handmade, and I'm like, even if I didn't know the supplier and where it came from, I'll be a monkey's uncle if that's handmade. You can tell that it's not.
Okay, you're getting frothy.
Yeah. So yeah, anyway. Oh, we got another question.
Good.
Natasha says, quick question from brand new member. Oh, welcome.
Congratulations.
How can I stop my bezel solder joint opening up when I solder my large pieces to a backplate? That's a great question.
So usually if your bezel is under some stress, say you've sort of hammered it, put it on a mandrel, you've hammered it, you've bent it, you shaped it, you've put stress into that bezel. Okay, so you've got a joint up here and you put stress into it. As soon as you start to heat up that piece of metal, especially if you heat directly on the joint, because the rest of the bezel has that stress into it, because you haven't annealed it, you've work hardened it, there's a chance that it'll open up. Also, when it comes to, I want to try and leave this on the board if I can, so guys can all see it. I'll take that out, put that. So also, what you want to do is you've got your nice, deep, thick bezel, okay? Bezel going around like this, okay? Here's your seam by here. I'll tell you what, let's put the seam over there. So there's the seam pointing away from you, okay? You are going to be putting that onto like a back plate that goes around, okay? A nice thick back plate like that. Okay, so here's your bezel. Here's your bezel here, okay? So you want to put your bezel on a back plate. Now, if you start, this is completely wrong, Andrew, isn't it? Go on.
And of course, the obvious, use the highest melting point solder for your first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. You got it. Well done. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you'd forgotten about that.
So you always should start off with a high melting point solder. You should always, as Louise just said, you should always start off with a high. You start off with the highest melting point solder for the first joint, which is here. Then when you solder that bezel now up onto a back plate, you should always use the next lower melting point solder. So then you'd use a medium. But the difference between the melting points from a medium to a hard solder may be about 30 or 40 degrees. It's not an awful lot. So what a lot of people would be intended to do is that the solder joints by here, you heat up the whole area and you keep heating, the solder starts to run and then it stops. You think it's not hot enough. So you keep the torch onto it, but it's not the heat that is stopping the solder from flowing. It may be a little bit of dirt, a little bit of oxide, but you keep heating, thinking it's not hot enough. Then you take it then too hot, and the solder joint then may start to come undone because you've actually overheated it. Even though you're using medium, and that's hard, you will find that that joint then will start to not necessarily come apart, but the solder will start to melt, and the solder may still start to run, or it may just sort of droop slightly. So that's the one problem. The best way to do this is to have your solder joint perhaps away from you. Then what you want to do is say put your little pallions of solder around here for argument's sake, okay, and on the outside around here. But what you do, you start to heat up here, you make it so all the solder here starts to melt first. Then you take the heat round to the side here, make sure that joint now is soldered all the way around, come round here, make sure all the other side around here is all soldered, and then the last area that you make sure that solder runs to is where the joint is. The bezel is not going to come apart because all the bezel has been soldered on over this part here, and by the time you bring your torch around to this side, the solder on this side should have solidified, so the bezel is not going to come apart because it's already been fastened as you come around. And then when you solder the other side, okay, so let's just turn this bezel around now. So here is your joint here. All the joint on the outside down here has all been soldered. This has all been soldered, and now you want to make sure that your little pallions of solder by here are going to melt here. You now can safely put your torch here, knowing that this solder on either side of the joint is fastening that bezel down onto the back plate, and you should be able to solder successfully. Now the bezel is not going to open up because it's been securely fastened on the bottom. Boom!
Boom!
Another question answered.
Good. Gabby says, so is a sponsor like a business / trader and the maker the one that makes it? I think it's just called Sponsor Mark now, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so now they're just one and the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's called the Sponsor Mark.
Yeah.
But maybe that was the thought process behind it. I don't know. It would make sense, wouldn't it? David says, just think Peter Carl Fabergé never made a thing. He was a designer. Yeah, that's true.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it would be a sad world without Fabergé, wouldn't it?
Oh, it would.
Do you have to live in the UK to have this hallmark?
That's an interesting question.
I think you can have a hallmark, but you don't really need one unless you're going to sell jewellery in the UK.
Okay, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
But chicken and egg, that one, isn't it? It's, yeah.
Yeah, to sell items in the UK, you have to have a hallmark
I don't
on
think
it.
you have to live in the UK to have one.
I don't think so.
So you can have one, but then unless you're going to sell in the UK, you wouldn't necessarily need one.
Exactly.
Yeah. Janet says, I shall go and introduce myself to the shop owner and tell him I'm a silversmith with no froth and let you know what effect it has on him. That'd be interesting, because hopefully you'll just inspire him and, yeah.
Or you'll cut him down to size.
Well, we don't want to do that. We don't want to shame anyone, do we? Or
No.
No.
Exactly.
But yeah, it might make him interested in learning more.
Even if he just comes to you just to see you work or see how things are actually done.
It's an opportunity to inspire somebody, isn't it? It's great.
There's more to what you do than what you do.
Yeah. Fab.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is why I love the Nudge Summit, because the things I thought I was quite confident, not that I've had my confidence knocked at all, but the things that I think I'm very good at, you go there and you just learn from so many other experts, and it's very humbling, isn't it? And it's really inspirational, and it just makes you want to keep going and going and going. And yeah. Really so that's the kind of thing that's how I would look at that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice way of putting it.
Yeah, it's true. Jill says, do the podcast from the Shedio so you can hose him down in the garden. Good idea. Sandra says, how do you solder a bezel onto a heavily textured backplate? Do you have to cut a groove in the bezel to sit in? If not, how can it sit flush? Ooh.
Yes, I did see something on Instagram. I think it was Johnny Orro did a bezel, and he actually cut out a groove with a ball burr where the bezel was to go. He put the bezel on the top, drew around it, and then got a ball burr and just burred around just to remove that little bit of texture so it was level. The bottom of that little hole, the little channel where the bezel sits was completely flat. Put it into place and you can solder it. Otherwise, as you say, the texture's up and down, the bezel is one height. You've got to try and get the solder to come down and to fill it all. And sometimes you can't put enough solder on, because don't forget, solder won't necessarily fill gaps. But that would be the best way of doing it. As you say, little channel, bezel sits in. Yes.
Good. Natasha, you're very welcome. Right, last question then. David says, is it better to put the pallions on the outside or the inside of a bezel?
I prefer to put it on the inside if the stone is opaque and you can't see through it. If it's opaque and you can see through it, in theory, then it shouldn't necessarily have the back plate solid. In that case, then I would put it from the outside so it would be drawn in, so you can still see the inside, past a little seat where the stone is sitting. That is the way I would do it. If you are cutting back the back plate to the bezel, it really doesn't matter, because if you put it on the outside and the silver flows all around here, you're going to cut this off. But if you're going to leave the back plate bigger than the bezel, don't put the solder on the outside, because if it does flow onto the little shelf, the little back plate, you're going to have a hell of a job trying to get it off. Put the solder on the inside, around on the inside here. Then you can pull the solder out then with the heat from the flame that would just bring it out to this edge. It depends on what you're doing and how you want it to look, but the visual appearance is always important. Excellent.
Good. So it depends on the design there largely.
It does, yes.
Entirely?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Good.
Lynn, oh, this is interesting. The hallmarking system is different in Denmark. They put their own mark and fineness mark, and their assay officers visit each year and take samples and scraps of the metals they use.
They do that in America as well.
Do they?
But they can put their own mark onto it, but they will be tested every now and again.
Periodically?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
Good. Good.
All done.
I think so, yeah.
What was the last question then about Fordham maintenance?
Did you say, John?
Oh, no.
Max maintenance video is hysterical. Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen that.
No.
Okay. It's 5:05.
I always think he sounds like a bit of a pirate. What's your name? John R.
Oh. I don't.
R. Is it A-H-R?
Yeah.
Yeah. John R. I'm John, the pirate. John R.
Okay.
Very good. All right.
Good. You're very welcome, Joe. Holy Joe, look, you're very welcome.
Him and his partner haven't done any videos for a long, long time. I
don't think I've seen any. We'll have to go and watch them.
They got to the 100,000, didn't they? And I think they just basically stopped doing them.
That's a shame.
Yeah, absolutely. Good.
I'm intrigued now. I want to go and watch.
You want to go and watch it?
Yeah.
I can imagine the frivolity that goes on when he was doing that, knowing John. I'll explain later.
Okay.
All right then. Good.
I saw something saying that assaying was originally to test the work of alchemists. Is this true or false?
Don't know. I think I touched on the history of hallmark in the film I did for the film on At the Bench, and it was done by one of the kings. All right then, we're going to go...
Which wooden flex shaft, sorry, is the best? I've started, so I'll finish.
Fordham SR.
For setting and engraving?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
The LX is okay. It operates at a slower speed, but it has a greater torque. Personally, the SR is one of the best ones. We've got 3 of these. I've got 2 done downstairs. I've got 1 up here. The SR is a faster speed, and to be honest, if you're stone setting, this is good enough. The torque on this is good enough for drilling, for everything else, and it gets up to the speed and more than what you need. LX is still good. There's not a real difference between the two. The red ones are for 240. Sometimes you'll see them, and sometimes you'll see them on places like AliExpress, but please don't buy them off AliExpress because they break. But buy them from a dealer. But the SR one is the best.
Good. Okay.
Should we go?
I think so.
Good. We will see you very soon.
Workshop next week. Oh, sorry.
We have the Argentian workshop coming up over the next few weeks, but we will certainly let you know when we are going to have that ready, because we have to arrange it with a couple more people, because we want to try something a little bit different when it comes to that. Stay tuned for all things on social media this week. We're going to do a couple of little reels about our little trip to Birmingham today, and that is about it.
I think so.
We're going to go and have some tea now.
Yes, can we have lasagna?
Do you want lasagna, do you?
Yeah. And a nice Chianti.
On that note, we will see you very soon. Everyone take care. Thank you for your company today. Really do appreciate it. Bye-bye.